And I'm going to draw in this talk today on some personal and academic experiences, and we'll also discuss a little bit Vera's Kurdish Library and Binghamton's acquisition of its collections a little bit in this context. And for this talk, I've actually also drawn on some material that I presented here in Binghamton, partially a couple years ago, at a conference honoring Professor Rifat Abul-Haj, my very favorite professor ever, and whose mentorship inspired some of my thinking along these lines and some of my thoughts on prospects and dilemmas for scholars like me. And I should note that some of these thoughts have been published in a special issue of the Journal of Ottoman Studies that are dedicated to Professor Abul-Haj. Now, the Kurdish Library exists for people who wish to study things Kurdish. In other words, Kurdish studies. But what is this? What does this mean? This term, Kurdish studies, in and of itself, I think poses unique questions for scholars. And I focus here primarily on historians, since that's the field I'm most familiar with. And these questions are intimately linked to the historical development of nationalism on a global level, and also to changing methodologies scholars have adopted when researching nationalism and identity politics. On the one hand, the legitimacy of the nation-state in global politics has not declined in the way that many scholars had hoped or predicted. To the contrary, new states keep declaring their independence, and identity politics are more ethnic-based than ever, at least in appearances. So it makes sense in this regard that Kurdish studies as a field is growing stronger, particularly since the onset of the recent war in Iraq, when the Kurdistan region was able to